everybody, it's Tony George. Welcome to Happy Hour. That's Hoops Happy Hour, courtesy of Doc Sports and my good buddy Griffin Murphy down there and down on the Strip in Las Vegas.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful Wednesday here today. I'm sure Griff will be out the pool tanning later today, having a Mai Tai.
That's right. Yep, I got a little bit of Muay Thai later today at 2. And then right after that, you got it nailed on the head, Tony. I'm going to go lay out and get some sun. It's exactly what the day's looking like. And then we got some NBA tonight.
Stadium swim circa by the pool. As soon as you go down there and rent a cabana, I'll come down.
I've yet to do that, man. I've heard that's a blast. I've yet to do that. I might have to tap into that this weekend.
Yeah, it's supposed to be nice out here. So we are in the midst. This is the first Hoops Happy Hour. We've been doing some shows over on my StreamYard channel, which we call the Vegas Beat. Our producer Jeremy's been traveling a lot and this, that, and the other. So he just informed us he's going to Coachella tomorrow. I'm sure we got him. I'm sure glad we caught him on the day before he leaves versus the day after he gets back.
Damn right.
Oh, man.
We know what happens over there, don't we, Tony?
Oh, my goodness. Just pure debauchery. You know, your moral compass somehow steers you in a different direction at Coachella. What I've heard.
I've experienced it.
We haven't done a Hoops Happy Hour in a while. We haven't done it since we did during March Madness. But at the end of the day, UConn stood tall, Griff, in college basketball this year. Let's touch on that real quick. Just a total domination. They just keep winning games by double digits. Doesn't matter who they play or what the spread was. They proved to be the best team in the country. Not a huge surprise at all. I thought Purdue might give them a better game than that with Edey in there. You know, what he has 37 and the rest of the team has 23 points against UConn. Pretty good job. They don't talk a lot. They didn't talk a lot, at least going into that game, about the strength of their perimeter defense and what they were able to do to teams during the entire tournament, actually.
Yeah, Tony. I mean, that was pretty much UConn just showed the world that one player is not somebody who can overtake the entire, tournament, so to speak. Zach Edey, the entire tournament, was unstoppable. You could not stop this guy in the paint. He single-handedly brought this Purdue team all the way up to the finals, so to speak. But on the other hand, UConn, they play as a team. It's all 5 guys on the floor. They're shooting threes. They're grabbing boards. They're attacking. It's not just like Zach Edey and Braden Smith getting the job done. UConn is a team that is a full throttle team, and they were able to utilize and show that Zach Edey is stoppable. And that was the first thing that I picked up early on in that game.
Yeah, great job by UConn. Solid March Madness for both of us. We both had a good March Madness. You tore it up in March Madness. So hope everybody jumped on board and made a lot of profits. We hit 3 out of 4 top picks, had a 7-unit one in there as well. A big one. So I was pleased with how March Madness, I guess I had an 8-unit winner there. So I was pleased there. I know you tore it up.
I wrote it.
Yeah. Whoa. That was tight, but we had a good March Madness. Now we're going to parlay that into the NBA postseason, and of course the postseason kicked off last night. I had a 7-unit play on the Los Angeles Lakers, who had a 13-point lead with 6 minutes left in the game, and we damn near lost it. Zion went for 40. Braun had a good game, not so much a great fourth quarter, but now the Lakers are taking on the Nuggets, a team that swept them last year in the postseason. Part of a parlay card I had with the Golden Knights winning the Stanley Cup, which paid handsomely for me, as you well know, Griff. But the rowing gets a little bit tougher now that you're taking on the Denver Nuggets, who right now are minus 400 favorites to win that series. Lakers at plus 15. Interesting. I don't know if they can sweep them this year, but I put a little money on Nuggets taking the series 4-1 for plus 230 this morning.
Okay.
You know, I think they're going to – LA, the Lakers, they're aging. Davis and James rested a lot this year. But at the end of the day here, I just think in a 7-game series against the Denver Nuggets, especially when you don't have home floor and just say they gave them all they wanted and then some, you got to play 4 games out in that altitude with an
Right.
aging Davis and James. I think it's going to be too much for LA, Griff. I mean, I don't think I'm going out on a limb by saying that.
Yeah, no, Tony, you don't sound crazy at all by any means, and especially the fact. The one thing I have to always give to the Lakers, they are a playoff basketball team. They're always going to be. When you have LeBron James on your team, you always have to be liable of what this guy is capable of doing. Davis, on the other hand, he is going to have to play A1 the entire series. For Denver, on the other hand, well, guess what? You've got to deal with Murray, you've got Gordon, and on top of that, you've got Joker. These are 3 guys that are pinpoint. If Gordon and Murray both come in deep in this game, balls deep, I don't see how the Lakers have any chance in sustaining. And you made a great point about the altitude. This is an older age team, veteran team with the Los Angeles Lakers. So for them to sustain that momentum, sustain that physicality in that type of climate, it's going to be very, very hard to do so, especially against a team that's been here so many times, as in the Denver Nuggets, who continuously Joker. This is his element. This is when this guy goes off. And I have high expectations for Gordon in this. He's a big body. He's somebody who could slow down LeBron James, unlike he was slowed down yesterday. Yesterday, LeBron James was able to take it right up the lane, take his 2 to 3 points, on and off all game long. I think Gordon has enough physicality and he's tall enough to be able to sustain and stop that, Tony.
Yeah, Denver's, one of those teams that you can't ignore. Joker's the best in the game. The Nuggets right now on the obviously favorites to win the West, Boston the East. Nuggets plus 300 to win the title, Celtics plus 160. I'm going to put me a little Celtics money down. I don't think there's anybody that can beat them in 7 games, but any one game, obviously, that if the Nuggets play the Celtics is scripted, at least according to the odds and the power ratings, ought to be a hell of a NBA Finals this year. But there's a lot of opportunity to get there. Now, last night, while we mentioned the Lakers win, let me give you some numbers from the Golden State game. I had a 7-unit top play on LA last night, and I stuck 3 units on the Warriors based on experience.
I had the Warriors as well.
Kind of built to be a playoff team. Anytime you mentioned anytime you got Jokic in a game, you got to be worried, or James in a game. Anytime you got Steph Curry in a game, that means something you got to worry. He had 22 last night. Klay Thompson. Let's talk about good old Klay. Klay went 0 for 10, 4 rebounds and 1 assist. Now, there are people licking their chops to get this guy in free agency, including the Orlando Magic. Good luck.
Right.
The Golden State Warriors, against a team that doesn't play much defense, scored 94 points and got their ass handed to them. Wasn't even close. Curry goes for 22. De'Aaron Fox goes for 24. Keegan Murray goes off for 32.
Yeah.
Dude, that was a behind the woodshed butt whipping right there, Griffin. You know what? Golden State was in really good form going into that game.
Yeah.
And Sacramento kind of limped to the finish line a little bit. I like the momentum. I like the experience. I like the head coach. And little bit of a shocker in that game, Griff.
Yeah, Tony, gigantic shocker. The Golden State took 32 3-pointers. They hit 10 of them. They hit 32% from the perimeter. Klay Thompson played like an absolute joke yesterday, and it puts the Warriors in a real weird spot now, because you've still got DeAndre. You've got to deal with Steph Curry now. What do we do about him? He's getting older. He's 36. Then you've got why am I drawing a blank? The other vet.
Green?
Who's the other vet, Tony?
Green,
Draymond. There you go. Draymond Green. Well, he's older. And then obviously you've got Klay Thompson, who's now going to be getting a new contract. So what do you do as a team now? Do you try and keep going and buying and building more and getting more veterans? Or is it time to say, hey, let's restart and let go of Klay Thompson? This puts them in a very bad situation. And I don't think anybody, including us, thought they were going to get knocked out this early. So for them, they were outperformed on every point of the game. When it came to the perimeter, when it came to free throws, when it came to boards, boards were huge, and second attempts were huge. They got smashed up and down the court. This goes in. Honestly, Tony, in my opinion, this falls on Klay Thompson. You cannot go 0 for 10. You cannot not hit any shots in a game at this importance, at this level. They got outplayed on every level of the game, and that is why they lost, simply put.
You're cold as ice. You know you can't hit a bull in the ass, handful of rocks. And you have 1 assist. You're not even trying to help the team. I mean, just look at that. And by the way, Steve Kerr got his ass coached off. Off. Wasn't he? Oh man, that was a bad performance from the bench to the floor.
He had nothing to say in his press conference.
Yeah, and by the way, we're not giving Sacramento credit. Sacramento, they got a bunch of ballers on that team. They are very dangerous. That West, I don't care who they come up against. You're going to have to play your A game to beat them, because if they get hot, they're unstoppable, dude. You got some bonus in there. I mean, you got some players, man.
Fox. Yeah.
Yeah, big time. Let me ask you a question.
What's up?
How are the Bucks minus 225 over the Pacers in that series?
Oh, man, Tony, I was looking at that and I was trying to figure it out. And I've got to be truthful with you. I don't hate it. The Pacers were I think the line, there's a little bit too much juice on it, but the Pacers are not playing at that high altitude level that they were playing at throughout the entire season. There's been a lot of trip ups and hiccups for them. They've kind of been relying on Haliburton to get the job done. When he got hurt throughout the season, it was completely obvious when he was down, because the team did fall into a little bit of a debacle. And you do kind of have to deal now with the Bucks, who they're on and off. But when this team is hot, the Bucks, they are very hard to beat when you have Giannis and Lillard going at it toe-to-toe. Offensively and defensively, they've stepped it up. Obviously, we have that injury with Giannis. Zion, on the other hand, that's something we'll probably talk about with his hamstring. But looking at that series, I think it's going to be a very good series. Milwaukee, I think, is the better team. Just simply put, I think Milwaukee's a better team. I don't think they're a better coach team, but I think they're a better athletic team, physical. I think they have better shooters, and I think they perform better as a team with the duo.
Well, the Bucks went 1-4 straight up and 0-5 against the spread in 5 meetings with the Pacers this season, and Indiana torched them on defense for 122 points every 100 possessions in those contests. I think 5 games to me. Yep, 5 games to me is a decent sample size to get a barometer. I'll tell you what, if Giannis can't go, Bucks are done. And let's not forget the Doc Rivers factor.
Exactly.
Let's not forget Doc Rivers. They fired their other coach mid-season, third away through the season, when they were winning 70% of their games. They've been a 500 ball club, and now your best player's hurt.
Yep.
Now, come on. You know, and Lillard, the Dame, he has his games, and then he doesn't have his games. Right. He's not near as consistent in terms of being a prolific scorer and a huge factor from Milwaukee as he was up in Portland. There's a lot of inconsistency there, Griff, in my opinion. Obviously, Haliburton, if he's having a big night, the Pacers can go. You know, you might see some overs in this series based on the lines. You might want to be taking a look at some overs here. Indiana doesn't like to play a lot of defense. They like to get up and down the floor, take shots. And, you know, I just think that a flyer at Pacers plus 180 is not a bad bet. I can see why you're talking about the Bucks, but when it comes down, what's Doc Rivers ever done in the playoffs? What do he do with the Clippers? What do he do with the 76ers? Dumped. And here we go again. And now you got Bucks. If Giannis is not a go, they're playing with one arm tied behind their back, in my opinion, and that I think there's some value in that number. If there's any way he can go, he's going to go. But
Yeah,
when you have a really bad torn calf muscle, those take a month minimum to heal, and it ain't been
sure.
a month yet.
No. If Giannis goes, this team definitely has the depth behind Indiana. They have much more depth than Indiana if Giannis is a go. And I think that Milwaukee is a much better team with Giannis on the court. But if he does not go, you're exactly right, Tony. As far as Indiana, Haliburton, they're a much faster paced team. They have a much better offense, and the Milwaukee Bucks are known for not having a good defense. And then to follow that up, since Doc Rivers has taken over as head coach, they started off cold, got hot, and then they've been playing in and out basketball, inconsistency. So this thing could go anywhere. So yeah, getting plus 150, 160 on the juice with Indiana, not a bad bet by any means. Not something that I'm going to go heavy on at all if I even was to touch it, because I have no ticket on that whatsoever. But there could be value there in that play if Giannis is a no-go.
Then we got another series, the 4 and 5 matchup, 4 and 5 seeds. Cleveland Cavaliers are minus 195 to win the series against the Magic, which are plus 155 here. Griff, just your thoughts on this series. I think it's going to be a tightly contested one.
Yeah, Tony, Orlando. The thing is Cleveland plays good basketball at home, but when it comes to the spread, they are not good against the spread at home. Now, this is playoff basketball. So when you want to talk about energy, players going all out, you're going to get all of that right now. Cleveland's 26-15 at home this season, while Orlando is 18-23 on the road. Neither of these two teams are playing good basketball right now. Consistently 5-5 in their last 10 games for Orlando, 4-6 for Cleveland. Cleveland's been in a debacle for the past month, just not playing good basketball. Orlando, on the other hand, they have been playing good basketball, but as of late, just not to their expertise. They don't move the ball at a fast pace. Neither of these two teams do. But for Orlando, their defense is stout. They play very strong defensive basketball. And if you're going to get 4.5 points, the way this team sweeps the ball, they swing it around, they play as a team. I mean, you got Wagner, Banchero. These guys could play. I'm leaning Orlando here. I just don't like the way Cleveland's been playing basketball lately. And I just don't, against the spread at home, their numbers are brutal. Brutal, Tony. I'm talking about 15-30 at home favorite type of spreads. They're horrible.
Well, I'm going to put this series kind of in the same bowl as I'm putting the Suns and T-Wolves in. I think it could go either way in both of those series. And the one thing that concerns me about Cleveland, Orlando plays some of the best defense in the NBA. They're a young team, which you've got Mitchell there for Cleveland. You got some talent, but they play really good defense to neutralize that. And one thing that Cleveland struggles with is offensive efficiency, turnover rate, and rebounding. That's a really, really three really bad categories to struggle in when you're taking on a fundamentally sound, consistently strong defensive ball club. And that's gonna rear its ugly head at some point in time for Cleveland to cover spreads and win games in this series, Griff.
I agree with you, Tony. This one is just going to be too much for me. As far as I am on the other side with this one, I think Orlando has the edge in this game. Cleveland, I have not been impressed for a while now about the way that this team is playing basketball. They're just not covering. They're not getting it done with rest advantage. I mean, they're not doing anything right. They're really not. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. They're coming into this with no momentum. Orlando's kind of been, quote unquote, that sleeper team all season long, and nobody's really paid attention to how good their defense has been all season long. If Cleveland can't pick up the pace on the offensive side, I don't know how they're going to end up taking this series.
Man, Orlando's best cover team in the NBA.
Yep.
At the end of the day here, I think there's a bet out there right now. I put a couple $100 on it this morning. Series goes 7 games. The Magic win 4-3 at plus 800. That's a
Oh,
juicy number. That's a juicy number right now.
yeah.
I took a little. That was tasty, Griff, and I took a little bite. I hadn't had breakfast yet, and I was hungry.
I like that. I jump on that one as well, Tony. Going 7 games, that's tough, but I do like Orlando taking the series.
Yeah. Now let's get to it. Suns T-Wolves. Just one more comment about Cleveland. I thought they were a hell of a lot better team before the All-Star break than after the All-Star break. After the
Okay.
All-Star break, they looked like a mediocre average team,
Sure.
And before that, I thought they were really good, especially on the defensive side. They did a lot of things very well, and for whatever reason, I know Mitchell was out for a while, this, that, and the other, but they never got that same mojo, that same chemistry they had before the All-Star break, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to lean the Magic. Plus 155 there. Suns, T-Wolves, Suns minus 120, T-Wolves minus 105 in this series.
Yep.
Suns got a little shine back to them
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the season, but they were a victim of poor play. They were a victim of not that good of coaching in
Injury.
some games as well. The injury bug bit them, but they seem to kind of snap out of it here their last 10, 12 games. And the T-Wolves been pretty consistently good all year. How do you see
Yeah.
this one going down?
Oh man, this is a weird one for me, Tony, because all season long Minnesota's kind of had that number 1 seed locked up as far as in the West. They've led the West the entire year. I never found them to be that talented, especially they're, in my eyes, overrated on the defensive side. Do they have a great defense? Absolutely. And if this is against the spread type of play, for the Suns aspect, they're the worst team in the NBA when it comes to covering spreads. So the fact that this is more so pick'em games, Minnesota -1 as the first game, this can go either way. It's going to come down to, does Edwards come out and ball? Does Booker come out and ball? How does Beal and KD play? How does Towns play? This game, it could go anywhere. To open up game 1, 30-11 at home with Minnesota, I like Minnesota here in game 1. I've always had this emotional attachment with Phoenix, coming from Phoenix to Vegas. I watched a lot of Suns games. I got a lot of emotional heart towards them. And they always seem to let me down. They do come into this game on a little bit of a heater. They're on a nice 3-game win streak. They've won 7 out of their last 10. They're playing good basketball, but is their offense going to be able to exploit this defense with Minnesota? Because that's where it's going to come down to. Minnesota comes out and plays the defense they're capable of playing, they're going to take this. But it's, can they bring that every single game throughout this series? I'm just not quite sure when you have to deal with Booker and KD especially, and Beal. So looking at this game, Tony, it could go either way. If I had to lean anywhere, I'd lean with Minnesota at home in game 1.
Yeah, Minnesota's going to have to win the home games to win this series. You got one thing, you got 2 of the best guards in the NBA in this game with Anthony Edwards and obviously Devin Booker. It should be noted that Edwards is 1-11 in 12 career meetings against Booker. That's a little bit of a hidden gem there.
Yeah,
And how healthy is Towns? How big an impact's he going to have?
exactly.
He's feasted on them inside in the past when he's been healthy and played against them. I saw some numbers. They were pretty impressive. To me, this one here is a coin flip. It's the only higher seed that's favored against the lower seed so far. Because Phoenix is 6 seed, and you've got the T-Wolves as a 3 seed here with a home court, and yet they're still -105 versus -120. This is going to be, I think it's a coin flip series. I really do.
Agreed.
And same thing with the Mavericks and the Clippers. What's Kawhi Leonard's status? You got the Mavericks, same number as the Suns and T-Wolves. Mavericks -120 against Clippers -105 in this series. If Mavs were to win it 4-3, it goes 7, they're plus 700. And if the Clips win it 4-3, and it goes 7 games, they're plus 800. I think when you have these matchups like this, even with the Cleveland and Orlando game, I think a lot of these matchups, Griff,
Yeah.
are going to go 7 games. I think
Hmm.
this might be one of them where, Irving and Doncic are no joke, dude. They are no
No.
joke, and they played some ball at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Clippers kind of limped home. They didn't have Leonard, so how do you put a barometer on them when you don't have your best player on the floor? I mean, because Paul
Right, Tony. And
George could not carry that team by himself.
no. And especially when you have to deal with Kyrie and Luka. And on top of that, Dallas plays very good basketball on the road. They're 25-16 on the season. The Clippers, just as you stated, they've kind of been on and off all season long with that injury with Leonard. How do you kind of deal with all of this? When it comes to pace of play, Dallas moves the ball a whole lot faster than they do. They're a younger team, despite Kyrie, but Kyrie's still fast. He's still athletic. He's still full of energy. I don't look at Kyrie as a veteran player when it comes to his, how do you say, energy levels. Kyrie's going to be just fine. Kyrie's going to play. And I love the fact with Luka, you can't necessarily stop the guy. The Clippers have been on and off all season long. They play a bad team, well, they're going to beat the hell out of them. They play a good team, well, it's going to be a run for their money. Dallas, on the other hand, they come out and they show out. And when it's playoff basketball time, Luka shows out. This guy drops a 40 bomb every single game. And then you've got Kyrie, who really started heating up towards the second half of this season. Going into this right now, it's critical. And then on top of that, in the most recent matchup, Clippers took that game. So to open up the series, you already know Dallas is looking at this, looking for blood, saying, hey, we want game one, and it's in LA. So I like where Dallas is at in this position. I think Dallas, if they can come in and take game one in LA, it's going to put them in a real good spot to start this series, Tony.
Yeah, I'd bet I'm going to bet the Mavericks in that series minus $1.20. I really am. I just like the way they played after the All-Star break. They got healthy. They got everybody on the same page. They've been very well coached. They played some defense, which sometimes they get lackadaisical. But
Yep.
down the stretch, they started playing some defense. I thought their shot selection was really good.
Sure.
Kyrie's good at taking a lot of those mid-range shots, which seem
Especially
to
in
be
the fourth
open for
quarter.
him all the time. Whenever he penetrates, they don't want to double up on him because they don't want to leave Luka out there on the wing unattended. They're a very difficult team to defend for sure. So you can, of course, folks, you can find all of our NBA playoff action at DocSports.com. You'll see the little link up there above our heads. You get a free $60. Put that towards an NBA playoff season-ending package, which is a playoff package. It should be noted that there is a lot of money to be made in the prop market.
Yep.
In these postseason games, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Side, total, first half, second half line, fine and dandy. But there is a lot of ways to make good, solid money using these props. And Griff and I are putting out these props every day over there. Rafael Esparza, who Griff does a live show on YouTube with on Wednesdays, on and off. He's been around forever. He does a lot of props. I don't know everybody that does all the props. I don't keep track of what all the guys are doing over there and how many guys do props, but the prop market, matter of fact, is so fruitful. I have my 8-unit prop of the year tonight in the NBA going off in the Miami and Philadelphia game tonight. And there are 2 games tonight. We'll touch base next week on the rest of the series and how things are going on the next Hoops Happy Hour next Wednesday. However, Philadelphia up to 5 points in that game against Miami. And then, Griff, I know you got to play in this game. I've got a totals play in the Hawks and Bulls game simply because I couldn't figure out who the hell was going to win that game.
That's got to be the worst game I've ever seen in my life. Are you kidding me?
10 games below 500, and yet you're in the playoffs. Blah, blah, blah. But you got Trae Young back. It wouldn't surprise me to see Atlanta beat them. It wouldn't surprise me. On the other side of the coin, In the other game, and I don't want you to reveal, but my thoughts in that 76ers game is we all know one thing. You don't want to discount Miami because they were in the play-in game last year and got in the damn finals. They were an underdog in every series and won every one of them. And they were taking down the big boys like they were ass clowns last year. They knocked off everybody, you know. But at the end of the day,
Jimmy B, man.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, Griff, and I don't have let me look up the number here, but is there really, be serious now, let me pull these out.
Yeah.
Is there anybody according to odds makers, there's nobody in the East that's going to be able to beat Boston. And let me tell you how I'll back that up. Odds makers' thoughts. Okay? I'm pulling up a live line right now. The Celtics are minus 180. Where are they at MGM?
They were
minus 175 at MGM. And the next closest to them is the Milwaukee Bucks at plus 600. Yeah. Nobody's going to beat these games. Boston's not going to crap down their leg like they did last year, Griff. I think they're clearly the team to beat. Without question, I'm willing to lay $180, $175 on them. If I got to play 2-1 and be on the back side of that, it doesn't bother me that much.
No.
If I bet $1,000 on them to win 500, I don't feel that I'm in peril at any point in time. Now, of course, if Porzingis breaks his left leg and Tatum breaks his right leg, then you got to worry. But I think they're going to coast till they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, actually.
Agreed, Tony. You got the Knicks, the Bucks, the Cavs, the Magic, and the Pacers. Which one of those teams is going to be able to touch the Celtics? There's not a single team that I would even consider relatively close to the talent pool of this. I mean, when it comes down to it, you look at the Denver Nuggets and you look at the Boston Celtics, and that's kind of how I look at where this thing's going to go. OKC is most definitely a threat over on that Western side.
Right.
But in the East, there's nobody even close to Boston. I mean, you've got Porzingis, you've got Tatum, you've got Brown. How are you going to stop these guys? There's nobody even close to this talent pool. I would like Buck 80. Not even close.
Yeah. And now out west, I don't think there's that much of a gap. Odds makers think there is. You've got the Nuggets at plus 135 to win the West. And then next closest to them is the Thunder at 600. Clippers, Mavericks, Suns, T-Wolves are way down the list at plus 1,000 to 900.
As they should be.
900. But let's just, for craps and giggles.
Yeah.
Who is it? Who is it in the West that could be the sleeper, that could come in and win the West besides Denver? Is it the Thunder? I talked about the T-Wolves.
Dallas.
At the All-Star break when we did this show, I thought they were a threat the way they were playing. I still think they're a threat. They're an outside threat. But when the Thunder are dialed in, they're a handful, Griff.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about juice, my sleeper is Dallas when you want to talk about getting paid. But when you want to talk about the talent pool, most definitely it's going to be OKC with Shai Alexander. This guy's the most potent offensive player in the entire Western Conference, let alone probably the NBA with the exception of Tatum and a couple other guys. He's averaging, I want to say, over 33 points per game. They're set on the boards. They're set from the perimeter. They're very well coached. If anybody in the Western Conference has any sort of fight that has any capabilities, it's going to be OKC as my sleeper, where it's a fair buck for your bet. Denver, obviously, we already know what they're capable of doing. I'm off the Minnesota train, and I like Dallas if I'm looking for some juice and with a quick little sprinkle for a high payout risk reward.
Yeah, they're plus 650 at FanDuel right now. The Thunder plus 600. Nuggets plus 135, and 140 at a couple other spots. And a place called Bet Rivers, which you see a lot of. They're only plus 110. But I'm going to take me some of that Nuggets money.
Yeah.
And like you, I'm going to take a lot of Nuggets money, but like you, I'm going to sprinkle on the Thunder and the Mavs. I'm going to
Yep.
sprinkle, buddy. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now.
I don't see
In
anybody else
terms
that's going to compete. I'm over with the
now,
Clippers. T-Wolves, no.
yeah,
Suns, I just can't
I
do
don't,
it. Suns have let me down so many times, just can't do it.
yeah, and I'm not so sure Tyrone Lue could pull off a big win when it matters, coaching them guys. I don't know. Could be me, but I got a bad taste in my mouth on the Clippers right now. I thought halfway through the
Why?
season they might be the team, but they just, plus the injury bug. You have to be solid coming into the playoffs, meaning you have to have your core group of players that have been playing, even if you bench them late third quarter, early fourth quarter, because you're playing, in a meaningless game. But you want to get them some work together to get that chemistry going,
Of course.
to play with that. And that's a team that hasn't been able to do that. And I think
Right.
that hurts you at this time of year. Just my thoughts. I could be wrong. Griff, pardon me.
You're all good,
What do
brother.
you got going on tonight over at Doc's?
Well, today at 3:07, I have a 6-unit MLB best bet. And then as well as I have I have a 4-unit play on this in-game conference tonight going out between, obviously, I don't want to drop my play out here, but yeah, I have an in-game NBA 4-unit on the in-game between the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers. Just 2 plays that I have really keyed out. I've got a bunch of props on deck. I've raced to 10 plays for some of you guys who like that adrenaline play, race to 10. There's a lot of ways to find sneaky edges in those. So for those of you guys who like the props, the quick little snake, like race to 10. I do a lot of those. And in the MLB side of things, I have Nerfy and Yurfy. That means no runs first inning, yes runs first inning. I have action on those as well. So I have all action. I have a full menu of slate, but my main key ingredient going out today will be my 6-unit in the MLB, and then I have a 4-unit in the play-in tournament.
There you go. And I've got a 3-pack in baseball. I've got an 8-unit NBA player prop of the year. I've got a 4-unit on the total in the Bulls and Hawks game tonight. It should be noted that on the weekends, be sure and catch us. My NASCAR has been absolutely beating the dog piss out of the books. No surprise there.
No.
We're up over $18,000 since 2019 for a $100 player. We had one losing season in NASCAR, and it was minus $400 for the whole year. So we almost have went 6 years in a row winning. So the NASCARs that you don't like NASCAR, who gives a crap?
Right.
And this week we got this weekend? We got Talladega, the fastest track in NASCAR. Always fun. Always fun. A little tricky to wager, Griff, because those last 10 laps, they're gunning at 220 mile an hour, bumper to bumper, and they're looking to bump each other into the wall and get to the finish line. So you could have Denny Hamlin leading 180 laps and have this turning laps better than anybody else on the course, and then the last 5 laps he's in the wall, finishes 30th. So that's one thing about those tracks where they draft at. Used to call it restrictor plate racing, because basically all the cars are equal. So then it comes down to driver and experience. We've always had a lot of success there. We'll be putting out the playoff picks. A lot of these games start this weekend, so be looking for those player props in the NBA. Now, you've started your MLB props. I'm starting mine next week. I've got a whole bank of like a system and algorithms that I use. And I like to plug in about 10 or 15 games before I get my tendencies. That's how I roll. You do it differently. The scoring in the first inning is another one I like to do. Griff's already on top of that. You can find us at DocSports.com any day of the week, folks. Get over there, take advantage of the free $60. Griff and I will be back next Wednesday. We do daily free play videos right here on this YouTube channel every day for the most part. And I've got one tonight on the channel right now for the game that Griff is on. So you go check out our free play content. And Griff, we'll talk again next week. A little bit of the dust will settle. The picture might be a little bit clearer. Zion's injury is a big problem.
Yeah.
And the fact that McCollum was 4 for 15 with 9 points from the floor is a huge problem, since that's their second leading scorer. FYI, little look ahead there for everybody, little tasty tidbit we don't mind giving out. But Griff, thanks for coming on, buddy. Enjoy the Las Vegas Strip today, and we'll be talking to you next Wednesday. And everybody, be sure and get over to Doc's, come visit us.
Thanks, guys.